At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
We're here because your heightened awareness deserves heightened entertainment. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Every summer, parents panic. Will kids lose their math, their reading, everything they were taught in school? Or is doing nothing for the break exactly what their kid's brain needs? Is holiday learning loss a real thing or just overstated? Well, that's what we're going to discuss here with Sarah Jefferson, a senior lecturer in education at Edith Cowan University in Australia. Sarah, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
You give this idea that kids lose their learning in the summer a formal name, and you call it summer learning loss. And I feel like parents immediately panic. Is that fear justified? Is it exaggerated? What happens to kids during the summer?
Wow, summer learning loss. It's very poetic sounding, isn't it? Look, I'm going to be really frank with you and say there are going to be some kids who will make losses over the summer break. There will be some kids who make gains over the summer break. What we know is that roughly in the end, it all comes out in the wash. And by the time you're a couple of weeks back into school, everyone's kind of back on track. So I would say to parents, of all the things that you are going to panic about with your children, and there will be a really long list by the time they've finished high school, this is probably sitting somewhere down towards the bottom.
Interesting. You mentioned some kids are affected more than others. My girlfriend, Miranda, she's a bit of a nerd. I feel like she read every summer as a kid and probably came back to school smarter. I was just playing video games, went to summer camp. I probably came back dumber. That uneven distribution, can you tell me about it a bit?
It's really interesting you say that, though. You were just doing a different skill set. You were working on a different skill set to the one that she was working on. So
that's what I should have said to my parents as a kid when they told me to get off the computer. I'm working on a different skill set.
And it's equally valid. So again, that's why I sort of say to parents, don't fret about it. As long as they're doing something. You know, gaming is fine. Gaming is about interacting, thinking critically and creatively. It's not fine when it's for 6-hour blocks in a row. Nothing is fine. Like, we don't run marathons or exercise for that period of time. But doing bits of things is totally fine. The way to kind of maybe approach it a little bit differently, I guess, David, is to kind of think about, well, the stuff that you were doing required some maths. You know, you had to do some maths work within the gaming and the critical thinking that you were doing when you were doing that, just as much as your girlfriend was enjoying reading her books over the summer break. It's all learning. It's all just different kinds. Here in Australia, one of the things that we get all of our kids in Australia pretty much to enroll in, if they're coastal, is swimming lessons. So they do a ton of swimming lessons over the summer vacation. Now, is that a valid type of learning? It's a life skill. So that's what this period of time can often be used for, is to kind of develop those life skills like cooking, you know, learning to play games with your family. You know, it's all there. Learning doesn't just have to be what's in the curriculum.
So some learning done, some learning kind of forgotten. A few weeks into school, likely you'll get caught right back up and remember what you quote unquote forgot. The loss of learning is sort of maybe a negative. The picking up of skills is a positive. But let's talk about just the rest and the reset, kind of just getting our brains out of that hardcore school environment.
Yes, this is a topic that's actually based in research, grounded very strongly in research, in that particularly for adolescent brains, which are undergoing what we call that pruning. And I've done a little TEDx talk on that one, where I talk about how from basically the back to the front of the brain rewires itself completely during the adolescent years. So essentially, they're starting from scratch. So while all of that is happening, they need a lot of time to rest, recuperate, and sleep. Did you sleep a lot when you were a teenager, David?
I did not. I was up late. I was getting up early. I regret. You know that phrase, you'll sleep when you're dead? I disagree. Sleep when you're alive, you know? It'll refresh you. I didn't. That's probably why I'm so dumb today. But I wish I had.
Because that, again, is such a critically important thing to be aware of, is just actually kids need sleep, and they need a lot of it, and they need a lot more rest than they think they do, which is not the same as, parents' views on the topic either. But yeah, that's super important, as I say. The other thing to be aware of as well is during those years, the sciencey part of all of this as well is the reward central part of your brain. Okay, there's these things coming out of them, these dendrites, I guess, for want of a better word. That's not the correct term, but they're called the striatum, and they are really, really receptive to reward, especially during the teenage years. So if they're gaming, or if, you take them out for a delicious meal, or if they're enjoying a book they're reading or a subject that they're doing, they're going to love that subject or enjoy that meal or whatever it was way more than if we tested the results of you or me as a self-regulated adult. And that's because the striatum are on fire during the adolescent years. So if we can tap into kids' learning, if kids want to learn or do study or work on skill sets during the school holidays, it's a really good time to do it when it's safe, quiet, you've got a bit more space to do those things. By all means, have at it, and know that the rewards are going to be really, really astronomically high for them. It's when we force them to do things that they don't want to do, you will get the inverse proportionate response, and they will hate it and resent you. So you walk a fine line.
Interesting. Okay, so you're making a good case for long summer breaks. Like, the rest helps their brains develop. The time out of school helps them grow skills that they might not have learned in school. What happens to kids when they don't get extended downtime like that? What would happen to kids if we just kept them in school for 12 months of the year?
Well, we would probably have a really spectacular apocalyptic meltdown, the likes of which the world has never seen.
All right, I'm listening. You've piqued my interest. Slightly dramatic, but maybe it's true.
A little bit of hyperbole never did anyone any harm. I think it's really important to be aware, if as adults we require annual leave every year because we are exhausted and we are burnt out from the demands of our job, we're asking young people, and often little kids right up to the age of like 18 or 19, don't even get me started on uni students, but when we're talking about that particular demographic of people, you're asking them to go into 5-6 different classrooms every day for 50, 60 minutes, learn a bunch of things in this class, go to the next class, learn a bunch of things, move to the next class. And then you're saying, yeah, we'll keep them at it year round, 12 months of the year. I'm not sure about you, but I need a break. My brain needs to sleep. My brain needs to prune what's not relevant in order to retain what is relevant. And when we don't give kids rest or a change of scenery, and that's why sport and physical activities and things like that are super important as well, alongside the learning. And just as we would do that, we wouldn't, if you're coaching a kid to become a champion rower, you're not going to have them out there rowing all day and all night, because again, you'd burn them out. You have to mix that up with weights training, bit of cardio, and it's got to be spread over a series of days, and you've got to have rest days. It's the same thing with schools.
Some schools, some parents, some teachers, they sort of give kids work over the holidays, like putting academic pressure on them during that time. I imagine that can backfire as well. It's not quite as severe as keeping kids in school for 12 months, but giving kids a summer reading list or things like that. Could something like that backfire?
Yeah, look, it's one of the things I'll often say is actually reading's really good. You can't go wrong with reading. Your girlfriend was definitely on the right track. What I would say with that is, 15 minutes before bedtime, a 15-minute reading wind down, so you've actually covered off your class text before term starts, is actually future you is going to thank current you for doing that little bit of reading every night. That's the only bit of, and I'm going to use air quotes here, sorry, homework I would ever be prescribing for kids over the summer break. Because again, I'm really passionate about the fact they need time to rest. From personal experience, I can tell you, kids have an amazing capacity to catch up. My youngest son, for various reasons, serious accident, missed 6 months of year 10 of high school. He came back in year 11, having missed all of that time. So he'd missed, and they were kind of like, oh, do we keep him back a year? And I was like, nope, he's going straight in with his peers. And he finished his year 12 with an outstanding mark. He made up everything that he'd lost in terms of the time. So that's why I'm particularly passionate. The research backs me up on this. You do not need to give your kids extra work to do.
Well, Sarah, you've made a good case, and I'm all for holidays for kids now. Sarah Jefferson is a senior lecturer in education at Edith Cowan University in Australia. Sarah, I've enjoyed the chat. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tis the season to stream on Stack TV. Whether you've been naughty or nice, we've got what you want. The first episode of Top Series for free. All Her Fault.
He's my son!
For free. Devil in Disguise. For free. Tiffany Haddish Goes Off.
We going to Africa.
Building Bombler.
It's time for an update.
Mistletoe Murders.
I've missed this.
All for free. Stream the first episode of these great series and more free this holiday season on Stack TV. Restrictions apply.